Hello, my friends. Welcome once again to Kardec Radio. You are watching Spiritism, a closer look. We run this program every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Luiz Lima here in Orlando, Florida today. And in this program, we are going to take a closer look at collective disturbances. If we look around, humanity is facing many challenges. Some people even say that things are getting worse and, everything is lost. So there's a lot of different opinions and views, personal views. But the matter of fact is, we live in the middle of, let's put it this way, waves of anger, waves of intolerance, fear, anxiety, discouragement, selfishness, all of these things, these are words that have a negative tone attached to them. And these things, the idea that we are in the middle of all these waves of these things happening, it seems to kind of sweep through all families, communities, nations all across the globe, humanity in general. So we ask ourselves, and we do this a lot of times in the present moment that we are going through. So we ask, what is going on with the world? What's going on with humanity? What's going on with society? And on and on. Well, when many of us, when many individuals sustain or nourish fear, greed, despair, hatred, all these things, when many individuals sustain that, these emotions create a collective atmosphere, and that affects everyone. So, the same way, likewise, if many individuals sustain charity, cultivating faith, hope, patience, tolerance, they help establish an atmosphere of peace. So the atmosphere around us will carry negative stuff or positive stuff, depending on what we sustain. It's almost like, once these things reach the critical mass, they are installed in our societies. So all of these negative things, hatred, greed, I brought some examples here, fear. So at one point, they reached the critical mass and they were installed in our societies. They are now part of it. And in a way, everyone contributes to it. Everyone contributes to the moral climate of humanity. I cannot exclude myself. You cannot exclude yourself. Everyone contributes to the psychic atmosphere, which is also, by the way, called psychosphere. So everyone contributes to the psychosphere around all of us in humanity. So basically, it happens because the practice of evil reached the critical mass thousands of years ago, while the practice of goodness has not yet reached its critical mass to supersede the evil. It will at one point, but we haven't got to the critical mass to turn things around, not yet. We're still learning how to replace, for example, competition with cooperation. Still learning how to replace aggressiveness with kindness. Still learning how to replace selfishness with fraternity, for example. We're not quite there yet. These are long processes. We're not quite there yet. So we witness this increasing anxiety, violence, loneliness, social problems, social polarization, and a constant search for immediate satisfaction. We want things now. We witness, for example, misinformation, where we got to the point where the worth of certain words, the meaning and the worth of certain words are twisted. So they ended up expressing the opposite of its original meaning years and decades and centuries ago. That's how things are distorted. So we are all immersed in the same psychosphere. We are all connected. By the way, quantum physics tells us there's something, we're not going to get into that today, not today. But quantum physics tells us there is a thing called quantum entanglement, meaning everything is connected. So we are all, breathing the same psychosphere. We're all living in the same psychosphere. We have arrived to a point where intolerance replaced understanding, pride replaced humility, vengeance replaced forgiveness, materialism replaced spiritual values, and indifference, for example, replaced compassion, and it goes on and on. These disturbances, they're all collective because it's everywhere for everyone. We're all immersed in the same thing. So these disturbances are to be reversed by us and us alone. There won't be a divine decree in our mailbox tomorrow morning saying, okay, you no longer look for pride. Now it's all humility. It's not the way it goes. It's something that each one of us have to work on. So for that to happen, each one of us have to step up. We need to step up in morality. We need to project our character on a higher level. We have to envision that we can do better than what we do today. So if you look at the example of Jesus, for example, he gave us, by the way, many, many, many examples. But you see, he lived through, or he lived amid violence, injustice, disease, misunderstanding, political conflict. He lived amid all of these things, yet he did not practice any of that. His character was above all of it. So for us to not participate, not to be part of these things, we need to be better. We need to raise our moral standards. Jesus never allowed himself to become spiritually disturbed by, for example, the hatred around him. He remained calm in storms. He forgave everyone who offended him. He comforted the suffering. He welcomed those that society rejected for whatever reason. So instead of him transforming himself to adapt to the values perceived by the society, those are called the social markers of the society at that time. No, he kept his character because his character was above all of that. His examples came to teach us that peace does not depend upon, I would say, the absence of problems, but depends on how we connect to the higher realms. Problems are going to exist. So it all depends how we see them. if we subscribe to a negative psychosphere, atmosphere, whoa, the problems are huge. If we subscribe for, the higher realms, the psychosphere, like the higher realms, it won't affect us. So the atmosphere around Jesus was so intense, the atmosphere that he brought, alone, one being, one spirit. It was so intense that he was able to supersede the atmosphere of all people around him. That's why, everybody, he would walk around and everybody was like, oh my God. Yeah, oh my God. Oh, he did this and that. Yes, he did this and that because we couldn't. We still can't after all this time. So we are all part of it and we all contribute to the psychic atmosphere, psychosphere of the globe. So, what is my contribution, for example? We all contribute. How? How? What is my contribution or your contribution? Think about this. When I'm going to say by myself, for myself, when I incarnate, what do I bring? What is my contribution? I bring my character. My character might have evil things or evil and goodness in different proportions, but yeah, that's I have vices, I have virtues, so I bring my character. But that's not it. That's not all. For every spirit that incarnates here on the planet, we come with at least one spirit guide, at least one, which is a highly evolved spirit. So now it's me physically incarnated and a very highly evolved spirit, my spirit guide. So does everyone. Now, I also bring spirits with me that are not good. They are not, they are lower order spirits because on earth we are lower order spirits. So we bring adversaries from the past. And because of the, level of morality that we are, we have many, many, many adversaries in the past. So let's do a quick math here. See if you can follow me. Let's say that I bring, when I come, 10 adversaries. So now let's count the spirits. I am 1, myself, 2, my spirit guide, plus 10, my adversary. So now instead of me, it's 12. It's 12. If you consider the family of reference, which is mother, father, 2 kids, each one of those 4 incarnate spirits, using the same logic, each one of them brings 11. So each one becomes equivalent to 12. So now a small family of 4 becomes 48 spirits. That's complicated. So my contribution to the psychosphere is those 12 spirits, me, my spirit guide in this example, and 10 adversaries. So my contribution includes, the low order spirits that come with me. They join me because I'm vibrationally, I'm on the same frequency that they are. So overcoming collective disturbances, and we saw the disturbances that can happen in only a small family, 4 people. So overcoming collective disturbances starts within each one of us. Our homes, our family will become peaceful when we cultivate patience. You won't happen as a divine decree. As we do that, the discarnate adversaries that accompany me will leave. They will not be interested in sticking around if I am getting better, if I am raising my moral standards. You see, they're not going to want to stay. They're going to go. Other spirits will come join me. Better spirits, more advanced. And the same for each one of us. So it all starts within each one of us. Our workplaces will improve when we practice honesty, for example. Our communities are going to grow stronger if we replace, say, competition or criticism with cooperation. There's too many problems. We're not going to be able to solve every single problem, but we can choose not to add more problems to the society. It's free will. It's a personal choice. Think about our systems, in a society. For example, some of them: political system, economic system, technology, education, health care, ecology, sports, any of these things. How did these things start? Economy did not start at the level that it is today. Technology did not start at the level that it is. So there was a start. There was a real start. Now let's go back in time. Now let's pick politics, for example, political system. How do we get to, elect candidates and so and so? How did it all start? You have to go way back, prior to ancient Greece, when the tribes, small tribes, are moving around looking for water, for food, and they meet another tribe. So a tribe of 30 people meet another tribe of another 30 people. Now there are 60. Oh, let's help each other. Oh, yeah. So now those 60 go looking for food and water, and so they meet another tribe. There's going to be a point where the number of people has increased to a point where the thing is going to start to get disorganized. Some people want to do this, some people want to do that. It could be very messy. So what we do is, let's organize this is way in the past. Let's organize this society. To organize society, we're going to pick some of our elements, some people within this society, and these are going to be responsible for organizing the society. So who am I going to choose? The ones with the best moral values or the worst moral values? The ones with the best moral values. That's how it all started. And then we elect, okay, we need, say, 5 people to take care of our society. Okay, so these are the 5 morally advanced, people in the society. They're going to take care of the society, of the group. That's how politics starts. Same for economy. Economy did not start so we can do deals under the table. Technology did not start because we wanted to do cyber attacks and steal money from bank accounts. And on and on and on. All of these things started from the same point: morality. All of these systems, all of them, were assembled on top of a basic layer called morality. Okay, time goes on. The systems are in place. They are growing. They are supposedly getting better. And so And then you get to a point where you look at this and you say, well, this is all disrupted. This is all, this is not working anymore. What happens? Then you have to look back into the source of all. Then you look into the source and you don't find anything. Not anymore. Because morality is gone. You don't have the sustaining layer in the bottom of all systems anymore. And when morality is shaken, it's shaken for all the systems at the same time, all of them. There's no such thing as, okay, I'll be honest in politics, but not in sports. Or I'll be, this in education, but not in economy. No such thing. Because honesty, for example, is not in the system. Honesty is not in politics. The people who produce the system are or not honest, more or less honest. So when the level of morality starts to disappear, or when morality starts to disappear, all the systems, all of them, crash at the same time. And that's, in a way, kind of what we see today in the world. And that's why we call this collective disturbance. So there's a tremendous disturbance. Everything is going berserk because the sustaining layer is disappearing fast. So to get away from this thing, to turn things around, we have to establish new social markers. What is a social marker? It's a reference that the society uses for its members being us, incarnated spirits. So, for example, here is a social marker. You cannot kill. That's a social marker. Here's another social marker. You cannot kill. If you kill, you go to jail. Which is different because now I know what's going to happen to me if I kill. On the previous statements, it was just a prohibition, but he didn't tell me what was going to happen. So, I'm going to do and see what happens. On the second example of the social marker, I already know what happens. If I kill somebody, I'm going to go to jail. Here's another social marker. You cannot kill. If you kill, you go to jail. But if it's your first crime, you don't pay anything for it. That's a social marker. You see what the problem is. The social markers establish the morality. It should establish the morality of a society. But in modern society, the social markers do no longer come from moral values. They come from attitudes, from our attitudes. So I killed somebody. It's the first person I killed. So I'm going to alter. I'm very, I have a lot of power within this society. I'm going to change the law that now says if it's your first crime, nothing happens. So now the law, which establishes the social marker, changed. Not because the moral value changed, but because my attitude changed. So it's all reversed. Moral values come from above. They're not going to change, never, ever. Either we subscribe to them or we suffer the consequences until we get tired and say, enough is enough. I'm just going to follow the law. So these social markers, they will improve as we commit to undergo our very own inner transformation. And when that happens, recognition will become less important than character. Dialogue will prevail over hostility. Listening will come before victory. Fraternity is going to be more important than the enemies that we create. If you look at peace, which is what everybody's looking for, peace does not come as a result or as a consequence of a few people signing papers dressed in nice suits in a glamorous place. Peace will come when I decide to be in peace and do things that will take me there. For example, I don't want to be intolerant anymore. I don't want to be selfish anymore. I don't want to be impatient anymore. That's going to take me to peace. We have signed, peace agreements and treaties thousands and thousands of times throughout the history of humanity. We're still here, fighting the same fight, looking at the mirror, doing the same thing. We can and we will rebuild our systems. But for that, to do it right, goodness has to reach the critical mass. And that depends only solely on us. We can do it because we like. We can do it because we learned the hard way. But if we don't do it, our social markers are going to stay as they are or be even worse. And we're going to see collective disturbances every single minute. It is a choice. So thank you very much for participating with us. Once again, Spiritism: A Closer Look is presented every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Luiz Lima here. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time.